Hey guys, I hope you're all doing very well. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be talking about Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I haven't really got a lot I could really say about this film, to be honest with you. I am a fan of the first film that came out. I mean, I haven't seen the second one, nor do I remember watching Ghostbusters Afterlife. So I'm pretty on and off when it comes to the Ghostbuster movies. But I watched this new one, Frozen Empire, and I think the best description I could really describe this film, it's a very safe, average film. I don't think this movie is gonna excel with people's expectations, just with anything that could surprise you. I think a lot of what this film delivers is pretty much exactly what you're gonna get, and I don't think you're gonna really come out of this film thinking that you've wasted your time watching it, nor thinking that it was anything far from a bad film. So I think this is a very safe, okay movie. And it's pretty much exactly like the typical franchises you would get, where it's just a franchise that's very safe, but it's not stretching the creativity that the film could really deliver. Now, I'm going to try and be as brief as I can talking about this film, because there isn't really a lot I could really say about it. And that's really where this movie really comes in as a very safe film. So I think the only thing that really stands out in this film is really the main villain protagonist. I think the name of it is Garaka. So literally the villain itself is essentially just a Frozen Empire villain protagonist, and basically this character is in an orb and trying to break out of the orb. It breaks out onto Earth and everything, and Garaka essentially just wants to build his army within New York and just do that. It's essentially just as about as a basic premise as it gets. I think visually they make it look good, like to actually show some of the Frozen artifacts that they could use and the powers it has. But I wish they could have really expanded further with its real powers, because they don't really use the villain very well to make it as intimidating as it can be. So sometimes you're just left with like very much some scenes that are just troping out, just not really sort of being well executed as an action film as much. But even still, like, the moments do stand out, and it does sort of hook with your attention. So other things I'm gonna say, which is kind of how I felt with this movie, I do feel a lot of the writing in this movie is pretty boring. So there's really very asinine dialogue in this film. It practically just tries to not take itself too seriously, and it becomes very nauseous, because I think for a lot of movies in Hollywood with these franchises being pumped out, it's pretty much sits on the exact same trope that they do, and it's really hard to listen through. I would also wish that they could really also give some sort of development to some of the characters. I think one of the characters I did appreciate is Nadim. So he's like a character in this movie who that she could control like fire and flames essentially. It's a very interesting character that they had, and I think they did use him pretty well. So that's one thing I did like. So really the film does have some compliments I could really look at, but potentially the rest of the films it's just a drag to sit through, like especially with the dialogue. And also the way it's written as well, to kind of make things happen through certain events. They don't really sort of give much depth to actually execute it as well. So those are kind of like some of the main sort of things that I would look at this film. I think for a lot of the points that I have made about this film, it's pretty much a shame really, because I think the movie had a very interesting premise and an idea, such as, the use of the orb and how that was created and how it came around. They don't really expand on its story and its origins very well, so they really lacked a lot of depth in that. Also, the character Garaka as well as a villain protagonist, like I said earlier, I don't think they really made it a very intimidating villain, and they really had very limited scenes. You don't really see it a lot, mostly towards the end, but even like when you get the moments to the end that some of it does look good, there's really lack of screen time and actually some sense of feared us really drawn in as the audience to really see what Garaka could really do. I don't really see a lot from it, unfortunately. Um, Also, the other thing I'm gonna say as well with this film, character relationships are pretty much just about as asinine and disconnected as it gets. One of the main other characters, called Phoebe, has a sort of a connection and dialogue with another female ghost. I forgot her name, but they don't really feel like, again, they have any sort of relationship or bonding with each other. They just feel like just strangers. They don't really make them feel like they have some sort of connection. And every single dialogue that you kind of sit through and listen to them speak, it's very nauseous, and it actually just doesn't really gauge with your attention at all. So overall, rating Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, I'm gonna have to give this movie 5 out of 10. It's about it's pretty much a generic film as it gets. It's not really gonna exceed your expectations watching it. I think for a lot of this movie, it's not really original in any sense of the imagination. It's pretty much just another milked out franchise that's trying to release another sequel. I mean, it's not a bad film in terms of its quality, but I can't really compliment this movie very much. So, yeah. So that's about it. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Dislike if you want to dislike. Let me know what you think about this film. And, yeah. That's about it. See you later.